okay, that one's good. That one's good. No, I took everything to my chiropractor appointment to go and do it. I had new batteries, had another camera that I was going to swap out for the non-cell, and didn't take my boots. I just had like my work shoes. So I'm like, I'm not going to go walk through the middle of that woods with my work shoes on. Right. So I did not. I need to do that. But anyway, let's get this thing rolling. Welcome back to another episode. This is probably the only hunting podcast where your host will have a, what is that, like a macchiato? Or what is it?
That
latte?
Is a cinnamon bun latte.
Cinnamon bun latte.
Iced.
And ginger turmeric tea.
I would have it no other way.
Most guys got like a bush latte.
Yeah.
You just have a latte.
Caffeinated at 6:06 p.m.
Yeah, we don't like being like everybody else, so I guess that works. But anyway, episode... I'm not even sure. 15, I think. I think 15, which is cool. I guess 15. I don't know how guys get to like 700. That's, oops, cameo from John.
You get there by doing episode 15 and then 16. Like, you just do it.
Yeah. I can't remember who I saw or heard the other day that was in like the 700s. But like, man, that's insane. But
I felt bad that you carried us last week, so I was like, I was mowing the lawn. I was like, we gotta do one.
I am
consistency is what we want to bring.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't want to miss a week, so
you're right.
We got enough to talk about.
It wasn't near as fun by myself.
Yeah,
and I did like 47 takes.
When I saw it pop up, I didn't know that was your plan. It was like when you see a lone hen in the spring after she should have poults. When it was just you, just solo at the little table. I was like, yeah, that's what it felt like, is the poultless hen.
Yeah, one of my takes, I was like, what do you think, Easton?
Oh, never mind.
But anyway, man, July 10th, 11th, something like that, I'm like full deer mode now.
This is when it becomes appropriate amongst society to be thinking and talking about deer. I feel like even though my mind was starting to go there early, like May, still kind of turkey season, June for sure, seems like July, beginning of July is when everybody accepts, talking about it, hanging trail cams, like you don't really feel like you're way ahead of everybody else.
Yeah. That 4th of July, I don't know who, I think probably Don
Higgins
coined that, like, that's when you need to get your cameras out, but that seems like the switch where everybody's like, all right,
yeah,
it's on.
Yep.
And it just lines up perfectly with, like, they're starting to look, you can kind of tell, like, that's a good one, that's not a good one.
Yeah, and it's the start of that point when you can also not only tell if it's going to be a good deer or, not a good deer, but also, like, what deer it is.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting those defining characteristics, whether that be, kickers or bases or whatever, Yeah.
Yeah.
See what's what.
I'm amped. I got the Wise Eye sitting there. I got one of them out. That one I think I'm going to put on that new property that I picked up, that, like, 40 acres up here, and just see what's showing up there. I pulled that card once, which was exciting. I have a non-cell there.
Yeah.
And that was exciting, going there, like, what's on it? There was nothing on it, like a spike and some does. But that element was kind of cool. I'm going to get a cell camera there, though. I
got mine in the mail today with the work situation. I was home for a split second. UPS was rolling up the road, and I didn't know who was delivering it, but sure enough, he had the box. I was like, yes. So I only got one DC2. I know you got a DC2 and an MC2, correct?
Yeah.
Afterwards, I started thinking. So basically, I was trying to allocate all my cell cams on properties in my head. When I had my shopping cart up for the Wise Eye sale, I was like, okay, 2 here, 4 here, 4 here. Here's how many I have. I knew I needed one, and as soon as I placed the order, I immediately was like, I probably should have got an MC2 as well, on top of the DC2 that I got. But that can happen later.
Oh, yeah. That was a cool deal they ran, for sure. I just, yeah. You get 2 or you get 1, and then it's like, well, I need more, and I want more.
What I was struggling with is, like, different times of the season, I don't necessarily need them all in the woods. So, like, I was thinking back to the end of the season last year when I had, let's just say I have 10. I have more than 10, but I have 10. Towards the end of the season, like, some properties died off so bad that it wasn't worth paying for a data plan to have a cell cam out there. So maybe I ran just a SD card camera out there. So I was trying to justify, do I really need another? Because at certain points in the season, I'm not going to be running them all.
Right.
But I don't know.
Right. I think the name of the game, too, is like getting with a trail camera brand that is reliable and lasts. Because like my situation this year, and nothing against Bushnell, I really liked those cameras, but they literally all took a crap this year. All of them stopped working completely. And I could probably do some more tinkering and maybe figure it out, or I don't know if you can send them back in. I don't really know how all that works, but I feel like I'm starting over. Like I have 4 Wiseye cameras right now, and then I have 5 Bushnells, but it's like I'm just at 4.
Yeah. It is amazing. I mean, you anticipate some die off just progressively over the years when, say you have 10 or whatever, and maybe every year you anticipate losing one. Like that's understandable. When you build up a collection of 5 of them, and then all 5 die in 1 year, that's like your whole fleet.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, that's hard to anticipate.
Which I was talking to Jake about that, and he's like, "Well, we got some good use out of them. I think we got them in 2020, and then a couple more in 2021. That's not very long, is it? Or is
that's not great? I know Wiseye, they will repair cameras. I mean, I'm assuming it's something that is able to be repaired. In a lot of cases, otherwise, if it's a defect or whatever that they feel is on them, they'll send you a new camera. No, that doesn't seem 5 years doesn't seem great. I don't think it seems bad. I mean, I've had some cameras die, a year or two, but my Gen 1 Tacticams are still friggin' pounding.
Yeah.
I mean, hammering away. And those get really, really good service in some dead spots, which I like those because those cameras are so old that I kind of anticipate them dying at some point. So I have no problem taking those to, out of state on public land and hanging them because it's like I probably only get another year or 2 out of them anyhow. If they get stolen, they get stolen.
Yeah.
Which I kind of like. I don't want to buy, even though the Wiseye has the MC2 that's like $120. I don't love the idea of taking those to places where I feel like they might get tampered with. So I kind of like the old rundown cameras that are still kicking for some reason, running flawlessly, but you could live without them.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That is a good point. Yeah, I was so disappointed to lose all of them, and maybe I'll have to look in. If somebody's listening and much about Bushnell, I'll have to look into sending them back in because if they can fix them or whatever, I know. And I probably don't take the best care of them. I left a lot of them out year round. I mean, they were there through the late season, looking to pick up sheds right into turkey season. I didn't really have them out of the woods, but the battery box, it's corroded. It's obviously weather is getting in there. So I don't know if that's something they can fix. To me, that seems like probably not. But
the one thing I didn't ever like about those when you had those was I felt like the thumbnails were always so unclear. Bad. Especially for running over food plots, because a lot of the deer that you were getting pictures of aren't, right within that nice 20, 30 foot range. They were further out towards 60 plus. So even if they were triggering, for the camera to take a picture, you'd send it to us and it was and it probably, the quality was only deteriorated when you would send it too, but I never felt like you could really get a good clear picture from them.
Yeah, definitely not. I like that about the Wiseyes. I also and I don't know if this has changed recently. I feel like last year, if I requested a video, it took a while. Maybe I'm just remembering wrong, but when you request a video now, it's instant. You get it instantly, which I think is kind of cool.
I feel bad. I haven't stepped fully into all the features because I know when we talked to Kevin and stuff, he told us about all these crazy things they can do that I haven't fully embraced yet. Just because I'm once you do it once, it's no big deal. But figuring things out for the first time, I haven't fully kind of got familiar with all the different features and capabilities of that camera. But yeah, other than just setting them up and getting pictures.
I think, isn't there something where you can track a specific buck? It identifies a specific buck and will send you a notification when it's that deer.
Oh, really? I have no idea about that.
There's a camera. I thought it was the Wiseyes, but there is a camera that does that, or it puts it into its folder, its own folder or something.
Yeah, I know you can do weather data and patterns and whatever, but I haven't. I mean, I'm probably truthfully less interested in that as I am just embracing how to use the request a video and all that. I mean, I know that's not difficult, but. Yeah, more of that side of things rather than I don't need you to tell me when I can go kill this deer.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Plus, it's just fun. Yeah.
I want to do that on my own.
Yeah. The dopamine rush of just getting a picture and like, okay, he's in there. The hunting side of things can leave to us.
Which, did you see, I believe it was Boone and Crockett changed their verbiage or wording because before it was if you got a picture of a deer via cell cam and killed that deer, it was like ineligible for, Boone and Crockett and Pope and Young, I believe.
Just couldn't put it in the books.
Yeah. But like the way you interpret that comes with a lot of gray area because it's like, I got this picture at a year and a half old, this buck, and I killed him at 5.5, but technically I had a picture of him.
Right.
So I think they changed the wording to basically be if you use the picture in a way that helps you harvest it. I watched a video that kind of explained it, but it made a lot more sense. Like,
how are they gonna
exactly? I don't think there's any way to enforce that beyond the hunter just being, truthful.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's just like a gentleman's sport. Like, I mean, it's just like golf or something. It's like you got to be honest about it, and I don't know. They have a lot of faith in that. Not that it matters to me, really. I don't care if it's in the book for you or not. But yeah, that's weird.
Right.
It makes sense though. I mean, yeah, there's too much gray area if you had a picture of it even earlier in the season or whatever,
Sure.
But yeah, if you got it over a food plot and you walked in with your gun.
Yeah, the intention of the rule, I support for the most part. But it kind of got lost in translation. So I think the new wording, whatever, kind of clears that up and makes some more sense of it. But
a lot of changes then. Sunday hunting in PA, that's wild.
Yep, good for them.
I was gonna say, I wonder what that'll do to like pressure on surrounding states.
Whatever. Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of guys say that they think it'll take away from the pressure of like Ohio, since we're especially because that western side of PA is where like a lot of the real serious deer hunters reside and hunt, which naturally makes Ohio an easy bounce for Sundays. Maybe that takes away some of that pressure. I don't know how high my confidence level is in that. If you're going to travel, you're probably already into the travel hunting game anyhow. So like if you've been to Ohio for the last umpteen years and now all of a sudden Sunday hunting is legal in PA, like you're probably still going to want to hunt Ohio.
Yeah. Do you think anybody's upset about that? Like like a PA resident for any reason? That
somebody like somebody will be upset about any given thing.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. I can't think of like other than I guess I've been guilty of like wanting things to be like they used to be. So maybe there's somebody there that's just like, oh no, like that's such a tradition. Like we're one of the only states that still does that. Keep it that way. But
yeah, it seems like there was a hang up that somebody like somewhat prominent had with, basically appealing the Sunday hunting rule or whatever. But I don't remember who that was or what their reasoning was. But yeah, it seemed like I saw something that was like, that's a weird take on that.
Yeah. One of us is buzzing me again. I was going to tell you, switching gears here, but I just ordered today. I think you'll think this is interesting. One of the like 16 by 6 by 6 ballistic like gel.
Really?
And I figured we shoot some broadheads into it just for fun. I think
it'd be great. I want to smack it so bad. Like when you walk past like a pork butt in a Kroger or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. Shooting the Rage last year, like we've talked about that a little bit. I want to send a Rage through it. And then I want to order, I don't know what broadhead yet, but I want to order another expandable, one that has a better reputation. And just look, just from an unbiased perspective of just like how much different is it? Does a blade deploy differently? Is the wound channel in the ballistic that much different? Penetration different? Just from a random 60-pound PSE shooting FMJ arrows, what does it look like?
Not only an unbiased opinion, but also like a uninformed. Like we're not looking at this from like a super scientific like blade deployment and bone avoiding tech. Like not.
I would be looking at it going. I don't know why.
That one went deeper.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know why this one looks different, but it is different.
It does look like a blast to shoot at. So.
That seems small to me, but I looked through all of them. Like Midway USA was selling them some, what was it, Mr. Ballistic Sight or something. Walmart had them, and they're all like 16 long and by 6
6x6
yeah.
face and
It
then
seems so
16
small.
inch depth.
Doesn't that seem tiny to shoot at?
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about how many reps you're going to be able to get into it before the wound channel of one shot affects.
Overlaps.
Yeah, because at the point that they're overlapping, like that's going to affect the the performance of the next arrow.
Yeah. So you'll have to help me decide what broadheads we should put through it, because you're probably going to get like 4.
I was going to say
I
at
guess.
best, if you could shoot in like a 5, like 4 corners and 1 in the middle.
Maybe in the middle. Yeah.
At best.
Yeah. So we'll have to. It should be here like early next week. We'll have to play with that.
Yeah, I wonder if there's any interesting spins on that we could do that haven't been. I mean, I've seen 100 videos of that on YouTube, so it's not like that's why we're doing it. But yeah, I wonder if there's anything else to evaluate with it while we have it for fun. How much was that, out of curiosity?
It was 95 on Midway USA. Yeah, with sales tax stuff, it was like 120 or something. But yeah, I don't know. I can't remember what video I stumbled across, and I personally don't usually watch a lot of those, but I know a lot of people like that stuff. And I thought, you know what, that'd be fun. I've never done anything like that. Just for nothing else, like I said, just because I'm curious.
It'd be cool if we got, so let's say, Rage, some of the top performers, and then maybe some of like just like either straight junk or maybe some really non-reputable brands, or somebody that was like around back in the day that fell off or something. Like if we can get our hands on something different.
I think I have to go to Columbus on Monday. I think I'm gonna stop at Cabela's and just see what else they have there. I might buy a pack of Beast broadheads. I want to see how they do next to a Rage.
I do know those are supposed to be pretty legit.
Yeah.
They have those at the Sportsman's Den.
Do they?
Yes. And they're pretty expensive.
74 for 3?
2?
Is it 2? It might be 2.
So I was up at the Den 2 weeks ago, and Josh said, I think it's 2 in a pack and then a practice tip.
I do like when they come with a practice tip. I like that a lot.
I do too.
Yeah. But yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so Beast, Rage, and then I'm trying to think of like some either run of the mill or does like Walmart have like their own, not their brand, but some like
it seems
Walmart
like they do.
type
I think
broadhead.
they do.
Yeah.
But if you I wonder if you should stick to mechanicals specifically.
Probably.
To keep it interesting. Like, a fixed blade broadhead's just going to go in. Like, unless you're shooting bone and whatever, then you can evaluate how the blades are affected. But like at the point that you're shooting just this gelatin block, basically,
we could do another one.
You're not going to have any issues with like, the blades getting tore up. Like fixed blades would probably be pretty uninteresting.
Right. Yeah. We could always do another one with fixed blades. But I was real interested because you can see through those gel blocks. Like, is the blade actually open? I don't know.
You had luck with the Whack'ems.
Yeah, I stopped one day this week. I was coming back from Utica, and that hunting store in Mount Vernon on the outskirts there. I can't even think what it's called.
Yeah.
Ricky's or something?
Something like that? Not that, but yeah, it's something like that on the south side of Mount Vernon.
They had the 3-blade Whack'ems, and I feel like I haven't seen those like anywhere, but they had them.
I forget what the deal is with Whack'em. Somebody had told me that there was kind of which I believe they were bought by Faradyne, right? And I don't know what's happened to them since then, but
I always liked those. I know Jake loves the fixed ones, and
I liked the 4 blades for a while. Jake liked the 3 blades.
Yeah.
Yep. I've since moved away, but
I don't know. I don't watch a ton of that stuff, but it does intrigue me, and I might start watching more of it. And
I think I'll watch a couple videos, or maybe a few videos, just to see what other people are looking at and if there's anything different or else that we could kind of evaluate.
Chris B did one that I did watch. That might be the one I stumbled across, and he did it was the wound channel, looking at the blades and what they did, penetration, which the penetration was like virtually the same. It was like millimeters difference, and then he took them all and shot from like 100 to see like how they flew, which that I feel like would be tough because there's the human element at that point too. But he shot them all from, it was either like 80 or 100 yards to see how they flew, and like some of them were like flying way right, some of them whatever. So I don't know, it is interesting to look at that stuff. And if your bow's not tuned, which I'm sure his is, but that's the element too that like admittedly I never I didn't realize that like you should have your bow tuned like couple times a year. Like stuff can happen. Like I never ever did that growing up. I slapped the broadhead on, and then if I needed to adjust my pins accordingly because it's flying different than my field points. I did, but that's an indication that your bow isn't tuned.
Right.
It could be.
Yeah, it
right.
could be. Yeah, it could be your sight. It could be something else. But yeah, I wish I knew more on the bow tech side of things. Like, it's not that it doesn't interest me, because it does. Like, anytime I'm at the den or wherever and somebody's working on my bow, like, I'm genuinely intrigued by and impressed by their abilities to do these things. But like, yeah, when you're so, I feel like, limited on time and involved in the field side of things and hunting, it's like, I want my bow to be set up properly. I want it to kill the animal. And aside from that, like, I just don't feel like I have a ton of time to devote, or money for that matter, like, into buying a bow press. And I enjoy fletching arrows, and I do that maybe once a year.
It's one of those things, it's like daunting to think about diving into it because it's just, there's just so much. But probably, like, I'm thinking about, like, editing for me. Like, 2-3 years ago, Jake was doing all the editing. I was like, there's no chance I could learn how to do that. Not a chance. And then, like, you jump in and you kind of just jump head first and you figure it out. That's probably the same thing. You watch a couple YouTube videos, buy a bow press, and before you know it, you're like, oh, this is easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, for right now, I just like taking it to those guys and letting them do their thing and worrying about the killing.
Yeah, I venture to say I'll probably be visiting up there, maybe just to shoot some bows here soon for fun. Maybe walk away with a new bow, maybe not.
When I was at that store, I picked up the lift.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it just feels like a really well. Some stuff you pick up, you're just like, this is well made. It just feels legit.
Yeah, that's on my radar to shoot. And I don't know, that the Matthews come in, like, I think 29.5-inch axle to axle, and then 33, which I've always liked a bow right in between that, like the 31s with PSE and stuff. So I don't know. Yeah. We'll see. Maybe I get a new bow. Maybe I don't. I haven't had a new bow in, I don't know, the last time, 2020, 2021, somewhere in there. Yeah. I've never been one to buy one like every couple of years, but that would be fun. Yeah.
I end up finding something I like and I shoot good with it, and I'm just like, I'm good. I don't want to change anything.
I'm also not the type of person to go shoot like the new bow and be like, this is 5 steps ahead of what I'm already shooting. Like, I know people always say, last year's bow to this year's bow, night and day. Like, so much improvement. Maybe that's due to my inexperience in, like, diehard bow shooting, archery, whatever. But, like, I don't feel much difference. Not that the new ones feel bad, but, like, they all feel pretty good to me.
Wasn't somebody just talking about that with us? Somebody just told me, I don't remember who it was, that, like, when you get down to the nitty gritty, like, these things are not changing much from year to year.
That's
like,
how I feel.
There's like, it's like hit the ceiling. So people, that's why, they're coming out with, carbon or like something just completely different, because, like, how much better can they actually get? Yeah,
I feel like we've gotten to a point where in a lot of products in the hunting space that have created this expectation that every year there's a new iteration, and it's the expectation, like, they have to put out a flagship bow or whatever, and I think they're definitely stretching to make changes to it just to say it's different.
I wonder if those engineers just, like, bounce their face off the wall, like, dude, how can we come up with something?
It feels like when you're, like, assigned to write the 2,000-word essay in school, and you're, like, just typing, like, and I did this so that I could do it, and that's why I did it. Like, I feel like that's kind of what it's gotten to, is the engineers are just like, I don't know, we'll figure something. What brand is it that has the riser that is like 2 poles, basically? Have you seen that bow?
I have.
Is it Prime?
I think it is Prime, and that might be what the guy was saying, is like, they're just, it's not so much like the technology now, they're just like reconfiguring the design or whatever, because it's like, what are we going to do?
And is that really an improvement? And maybe it's not maybe it's not going the opposite direction, maybe it's not like a step backwards, but, like, is the performance actually going forward, or is this just a change to say we made a change?
Right. And then we leave it to the marketing team to spin it to you. That makes it seem like it's legit.
Yeah. And maybe in that case, like, there's no performance increase or decrease, but it's lighter because instead of a full riser, it's just 2, carbon poles or whatever.
Right.
They're going to spin it in the direction of, like, it's lighter this year. Performance is the same. We were able to drop 2 ounces and no decrease in performance.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what we get to.
Is there any compound companies that also make a crossbow? I don't think there is there?
Did Matthews ever make? I thought maybe not. I don't know.
I'm wondering.
For some reason, I thought maybe Matthews at one point did, but
maybe
don't anymore. I don't know. I don't want to.
I was just thinking, is it going to hit a point with that's becoming so popular and there's so much money in that we can't really do anything else with the compounds. Let's make our own crossbow.
Mm-hmm.
I bet that happens.
Yeah, that could be eventually.
I don't want it to happen, but I bet it will.
No. Yeah, I don't know.
Speaking of spending money on things, I talked to Larry today.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting conversation. I was taking a bunch of notes. I don't want to miss anything, but you'll think some of this is interesting. So I called him, obviously, because we just wrapped up the timber job, which if you listen to a couple podcasts ago, we had Vinny on. He was the forester that helped us out here. And he recommended getting that thing burned. Larry, interestingly enough, said, which I don't know, like he's not a forester. He's a habitat consultant / he owns Native Landscapes, right?
Yeah, so like he does dozer work. I don't know if he necessarily handles like invasive control or not. Like he's really big on burns. Like he can hook you up with burning your property, and I think that's a lot of what he does.
I've never met someone so amped to be taking a phone call about a burn. And he was like, kudos to you guys for doing what you did, burning that place in years past. I kind of explained the whole process that we went through, and he was like, you're in like the 1%. Like nobody does that. I'm like, okay, it wasn't that hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, he said, ideally you would have burned that like 2 years ago. And I was like, we did part of it. He was like, really? And he was like, let me ask you this. Are you getting any oak sprouts coming up? And
Yes.
I said, yes. And he goes, really? He was like, I want to let you know that on all of the jobs I've been on in the state of Ohio for however many years doing that, he's like, I can think of like 1 or 2 situations where that is happening.
Really? I mean,
Yeah.
even Vinny pointed that out.
I was going to say, I hope I'm not remembering this wrong, but yeah, on the phone, I told him like, no, we walked it with Vinny, and Vinny was like pointing them out. And
Yes.
it was where we burned.
Yes,
It was
because
where we burned.
It was towards the back of the property, and I remember we were coming back this
Yep.
way, and Vinny pointed at the one. And he goes, "Yeah, that's likely regen from the burn you guys did in here."
That's what Larry said, word for word. He said that is because you burned, which
Yep.
is exactly what he had hoped we did, and we did. I'm like, well, we didn't really know, but
There were times when I felt like the work that we did was like all for naught in a way back there, just because like we were burning, and essentially we were burning the debris off the forest floor without the second side of like bringing sunlight to that forest floor to create growth. So in a lot of ways, it was like a very one-sided, temporary, okay, we burned it off. The benefit was the turkeys coming in. For many years, you had turkeys back there utilizing that space. So that was kind of the reward. But beyond that, the next year the leaves would fall. There was no growth coming up, and we were back to square one. So it's nice to hear that there was kind of, after all, a little bit of a other aspect that was positive to that.
it was completely like random. It's not like we planned that. At that point in time, I don't even know, that I knew for sure when or if we would have it timbered, but it's one of those things that ended up being like exactly what we were supposed to do, which is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
But he went on to say he recommended going through EQIP for something like that, and then he talked about how like the whole EQIP thing now, basically they stripped like all that money.
Yeah.
The last 2 years, it sounds like, was the time to do that. It sounds like they were just handing it out like candy. But what I thought was interesting is he said you're more likely to get an EQIP contract if you are doing more than just like, hey, I'm going to burn. So he gave me a laundry list of things that we should put, like, so basically when I call EQIP, I think he said the windows in like December maybe.
Okay.
Or fall sometime, October, December, somewhere in there. And he said that you should let them know that you want to do a prescribed fire. And then on top of that, he said shrub planting, which there's a couple areas back there I think that could be utilized. Honestly, I think right behind the house where all that thick junk is,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's honeysuckle, isn't it, where we rabbit hunt?
Yeah.
The rabbits like it, but I feel like if you got that cleared, you could do some nice strategic shrub plantings. Down tree structures, which he said basically they pay out $250 per tree. That, like, he described it like, let's say you just have some like giant, huge 30-inch like beech or something that's just not doing anything, just cutting it and like leaving it. I thought that was interesting. Invasive control, obviously. Fire, edge feathering, which he said they pay $1,000 an acre.
Yeah.
Which there's some areas like around the food plot and stuff you could do that, but to get to an acre, that'd be huge if you're just doing an edge. You know what I mean?
Big. Yeah.
That'd be a huge area. It'd be like around an ag field, I would think.
Yeah.
But pollinator plantings, so like old pastures or whatever. But the last one I thought was super interesting. You would never guess. Bluebird boxes. Bluebird boxes. Going out on the property, they'll pay you to put out boxes for bluebirds. I would have never guessed. He said that, and I thought he was making like a joke.
Yeah.
That's legit. But
Okay.
he said most, not foresters, but folks like him would charge like $750 per acre for a burn. Which, I mean, when you think about
That's
it,
not terrible.
well, no, especially like if you're burning after a timber job, because you just allocate that money back into the burn. Which, shout out to Vinny again. He asked what we ended up getting off that piece, and he was like, you got to be kidding. And I was like, no. And he was like, I can't believe that. It's like, that's insane.
Really?
Yeah. And he just reiterated, like, if you're not using a forester, you, like, every time are getting screwed.
Which, I don't know. Well, I think we did touch on, like, byproduct or incidental damage to other trees. We talked about that, correct?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, because that would have been like a second, I don't want to call it like a second revenue stream, but like a secondary check that you would have gotten on top of the base bid that you were given.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Which I think he said that, there's, I can't remember how many trees extra. There was the one that he said he like missed, and then I think they damaged like 3 or 4 other ones, which just happens, like no big deal. But
which the day after the podcast, we went back there, and he was kind of pointing out, like, that'll be an extra. So, like, that was an aspect of it that I guess I kind of figured would be accounted for, but I didn't understand how that would happen. So he was surprised how much extra there was on top of the base bid, or...
You talking Larry?
Oh, this was Larry. Okay.
Yeah, no, Larry had asked me,
what
I think he said, what did Vinny get you?
Right.
And I told him, and he was like, what? I was like... Yeah.
He's the man.
To me, I mean, I think since we weren't in it for that, you know what I mean? That was a byproduct of like improving the habitat for hunting purposes. To me, it was just like, I don't really care what we get. But he was like, for that amount of acreage, like you either had the best trees or like, Vinny looked out for you guys, and like,
I feel like you had some pretty solid trees back there.
Yeah.
Like some really solid.
Looked like a metro park.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But I don't know. I was so amped after talking to Larry. He said basically you would want to get a burn in there, if not next spring, the spring after, and no later than that. He said ideally, EQIP pays for the whole thing. And like that's, what we would pay Larry, obviously. But
is his concern some of the regen, probably being like maples and beech and all that stuff getting too far along, too mature to be controlled by, burns?
Yep.
Okay.
He said that's like 99% of the time what's happening in probably most of the country, but specifically Ohio, is these guys are coming in, logging companies, raping the timber, taking everything, and then no fire ever. And then it's just junk forever. So he recommended doing that and then burning again like 5 to 7 years after that. And he said at that point in time, you're going to have oaks that are like, he gave like dimensions, like 3 feet tall or something like that. And he said those will withstand that round of fire, but like the newer like seedling oaks that are just popping up, it'll kill those. But you have that stand now of 5-year-old oaks that are 3 feet tall or whatever, and those will be fine through that fire. And you should do that every like 5 to 7 years.
So my question now, I guess, would be those oaks from the burn we did 2 years ago that are sprouting. If you were to burn this coming spring,
I think they'd be toast.
Okay.
Yeah.
It seems like they would be. I mean, they're yay tall, and not even pinky width, not even close to pinky width.
Yeah, and I think you're just banking on at that point, like, I don't want to say starting over, but kind of in that regard. And then from there, you have like a very strategic plan moving forward.
Okay.
So, and then he mentioned too, removing the maples and whatever, and which Vinny went through and marked a handful of those. But it's just really interesting where like, if you're improving, if you're getting your woods timbered for deer or turkey or wildlife in general, that's not enough. It's like very much, if I could put like an overarching umbrella under our conversation today, is like, that's a start. That's like your starting point. But like, if you don't do the right things moving forward after that, like, it was kind of all for nothing. And he said it's all fire. I think his exact verbiage was like, it's 100% fire is the ticket.
Not only is starting there and ending there not enough, or starting there not enough, but that could honestly be the detriment, right? Because when you timber, generally they're targeting, if you have oaks, they're targeting those oaks of a certain, breast height diameter or whatever. So if you started there, cut those, and then stopped, you'd be even worse off than never even starting there, because you've lost your oaks, or at least the mature ones that were of size to cut, and then are likely going to be overtaken by, not oaks. I mean, probably maples and beech and whatever else you have back there.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, you're exactly right. It was.
So you'd be better off to not start at all than to start there and stop there.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
Interesting.
Very interesting. And he mentioned like he had, I think just recently, an EQIP job where part of that funding was going towards a burn, and like it sounded like it was a situation where there was like multiple family members involved or whatever, and like the one lady was like, we're not burning, like scared of it basically. Mm-hmm. And he mentioned how many people don't want to go down that road because they think like fire's bad. I'm trying to think back when like we went, started messing around with some controlled burns. Like, I don't think at any point in time were we ever like, I mean, yeah, you have like your concerns, like, okay, we should watch the wind and stuff, but like, did we ever really think we were gonna catch the entire neighborhood on fire?
There was a couple times.
Okay.
There was that one. Now, is what he was saying for this particular lady a safety concern, or more that fire comes with like the perception that it's like not good for the landscape?
Yeah,
because I could see where it would come with like a negative connotation of like, you don't generalize fire with like good things.
Yeah, it's probably
without
more so that
an understanding of what it really does. I mean, overall, it's incredible for the landscape, but
yeah, probably more so that. I know, because one concern I legitimately have is, I think he said through the EPA, which this is correct because I remember when I messed with the EPA and all that paperwork and stuff. I think for like a larger controlled burn in Ohio, it's supposed to be done before May something, which we always did it, like early April. But he can get some sort of waiver or something through EQIP where you can do it like different times of the year. So he recommended like May. And I don't remember necessarily why. I guess probably at that point in time, maybe some of that stuff is like flowered out. I don't know. But anyway, turkey nests. Like at that point in time, you got the woods timbered. There's some thicker stuff coming up. There's probably hens nesting in there. I wouldn't want to burn that late.
That is something I've seen a ton of on, I think it might be the Turkey Hunters of Kentucky Facebook group that I'm in. For whatever reason, I'm in that. And I think they've talked a ton in there about the WMAs coming in and burning during nesting season. And people have posted pictures of nests that are just roasted. And I think that question's been posed to like Mike Chamberlain and some of those guys. And it seems like the general response is that the benefits of the fire outweigh they say minimal, whoever has answered this question, the minimal damage that is caused to, these few nests.
That's basically what Larry said. And he was like, they'll re-nest, which ideally, yes, but it doesn't sit quite right with me knowing that like I could potentially be the reason they have to re-nest.
What if they re-nest elsewhere in a spot that's less ideal and they're more susceptible to nest predation or what? Like, we know the success rate of turkey nests are so minimal that it's like I don't even want to chance the possibility of this being the one successful nest in the neighborhood, and like I know I'm the reason that caused the failure.
This is the downside of like yes, being a hunter, but like you and I caring, like the weird dilemma of like, yeah, we hunt them and we are out there to try to kill them, but like I love them so much.
Yeah, I would if that hen would let me sit with that nest to protect it. Like I would, dude. I'd go to war for that thing.
Oh, yeah. I'd take a month off work just to sit out there and...
Yes, I would fight every coyote, every raccoon, possum, snake, whatever.
Yeah.
And I hate snakes.
Oh, gosh, yeah. But, yeah, that's, I guess, something to consider down the road. But, I'm going to give the NRCS office a call and just see, like, hey, when's that exact window, and kind of get that ball rolling. They had me just amped afterwards.
Yeah, that's cool.
I love that stuff.
I like Larry. He's enthusiastic about what he does. Like when we met him down there in Columbus, like he came with all the documentation or literature for the baiting stuff. And
this dude was amped on the phone.
Cool. It's cool to talk to and fun to talk to people that match the same level of excitement that we do. And maybe, his arena is a little bit different than ours. Like we're just generally enthusiastic about hunting and deer and habitat and turkeys and whatever. And like he's very habitat focused.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool to talk to people that are super passionate.
Yeah.
Same as Vinny.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Cherish those conversations for sure.
To put a bow on that, you probably haven't discussed kind of the conclusion of your timber project, right? So like they were actively cutting the last time we talked when we had Vinny on. And since then, they finished cutting, hauled everything out. Timber is gone. You're paid. And then they came in, graded your roads, and seeded them, right?
Yeah.
And that's pretty much a wrap.
Yeah. Like the logging roads were like pretty rutted up, like pretty bad. We had a ton of rain here. They came in and graded it, and these roads are beautiful. And then Vinny came in and seeded the whole thing. Like you can just tell like when you're working with somebody that just like runs a top tier operation, and like they exceeded my expectations. And obviously, it looks like a woods that just got timbered. There's treetops everywhere. There's some stuff kind of snagged up in places, but like that's just what's going to happen. And I've learned, especially lately, like a lot of the stuff that looks good to the human eye is not conducive or, maybe the best for wildlife, especially deer, it seems like. So, yeah, I'm super pleased. Yeah. He actually said, I think Vinny, when he was up here seeding, he said he'd already gotten a few calls from people that had listened to our podcast or messaged with us about, coming out. I'm like, I hope 100 people call you because I have nothing but good things to say.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the getting paid part too. That all, like, they pay you before they even, like, we were paid before they even took a tree, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
other than your extras,
the extra stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever hang a camera back there over those maples?
I have two back there right now. One of them is on a mineral with some maples around it, and I'm getting a bunch of deer on it, but it's not like specifically over. And then I put one, that logging road from the food plot cuts through the pines and then V's.
Yeah.
And
where we want the scrape.
Yeah. I put one there, and I'm getting deer pouring out of there, but turkeys all over that camera.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
So
still the one poult? Are you still getting that poult?
No, they've been gobblers. I don't know where the hens are.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a group of gobblers and jakes. But
I was thinking about that spot too because the logging road comes to a Y basically, and it'd be sweet to put a stand there with a mock scrape or what. I don't know. Is there a natural beach there?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
You have to look at it with me. The branches are kind of low. There was one big branch that was up high, but they must have caught it and it broke off. But there's like 3 branches that come out, but they're
a little too low.
They're like below nipple height, and I feel like that's too low.
If you could find a super heavy branch that's weighing those down, either you could cut that and see if that lifts.
Yeah.
Or cut those, and I don't know. I've had luck with completely cutting everything and hanging a white oak branch or a beech branch a little bit high, just selecting your height that you want. But that spot could be super cool. And then there was, towards the back of the property, there was a spot where a bunch of tops were down that when we walked back there with Vinny, I said, dude, like this right here is like a major pinch funneling back to that next property over. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've been back there since then, but it seems like that would become a highway.
Yeah. Well, the roads are already littered with tracks, but it was funny. I walked back there to hang the camera. I got on the logging road, a couple does ran out, and I saw 5, I say long beards. They were, the jakes now, have like 6-inch beards, so
Some
I don't know.
People call those super jakes.
Yeah. There was male turkeys. They took off running down the logging road, and then I got back to where you're talking about, and I was hanging a camera over that mineral. It's right there. It's 15 yards from there.
Okay.
And I looked out from around this tree, and 2 bucks are running from the neighbors directly at me. I'm like, they're going to come to this mineral. So I just tucked behind the tree, and they ended up kind of veering off and went out to the beans. So I turned to start videoing them in the beans, and the logging road back in the hardwoods, this buck, the one I sent you, just comes walking out the logging road straight into the beans. I have no idea where he was.
Wow.
I would have walked, right past wherever he was coming from. I don't know if he's laying in there or what, but I don't know.
I do wonder, with the food plot being where it is, how that dynamic will work as far as like where the bedding will be. Like, where do you think they'll bed, stage, and eventually feed to? Like, I'm trying to picture where the optimal hunting location would be.
Yeah, I think they'll bed in some of the same spots, you know where I'm talking about, that they always do. But I think some of them, I think they're going to bed in the hardwoods too.
Yeah.
Because all this, there's so much cover on the ground now, especially in the next couple years.
And it's going to become more.
So close to food. I mean, so close to food.
That doesn't create like a good storm for you though.
No, it doesn't.
Because, if they are there, like you said, they're essentially on the food already.
Yeah.
Like, can see it from where they're at. So that doesn't create a lot of opportunity to get between the two.
Yeah, I'm hoping it becomes a really good rut area, like with those logging roads and stuff, like cruising through. But I'm anxious to see if it'll enhance the action in the food plot, like pinching them down there. But yeah, I don't know. And then like the whole other side of the property, nothing happened to, but there's just like nothing over there.
It does seem very much like a desolate wasteland.
It is. It is.
I so badly want to see the day that something happens with that.
I know it's 50 acres, but like we literally hunt like 20 of it because it's just like nothing over there. But
there's potential there. There's so much potential that, and eventually I'm sure you will get there. Like it's a work in progress all the time.
Yep, that stuff's just so fun seeing it come to light, and that's what Larry was asking too. Like how much of this stuff like are we capable of? And I started sharing with him like some of the stuff we've already done. He was like, oh, never mind. Like you guys are, more than capable. So as long as it's not like a 30-inch beach that you have to drop in like a perfect gap, I feel pretty comfortable.
We'll get it down.
Yeah,
we'll get it down.
We'll get Jake to plunge cut it, and it'll be good. But aside from that, that's all wrapped up, and I guess just kind of got to wait now too, let it get thick in there and see what shows up. But other than that, you planted stuff, hung cams, right?
I did not plant anything. I guess sprayed some stuff in preparation to plant. Yeah, this year. So I've typically waited to plant my brassica plots, either essentially like say the last week and a half of August. And every year for the past couple years, I've struggled with the rain thing. Last year being, I think I planted somewhere around the 20th-ish of August and basically fought it through, I would say, mid-September, essentially with zero germination. I think I forget how many days it was. It was somewhere in the 20-plus range day range that I planted the food plot before I got the first rain on it, which I think in a way saved me, because if you get a little bit of rain right after you plant, you're going to get some germination and then just bake it for the next however many days. I think that seed just sat there kind of dormant. This year, I elected to spray, what is today? July
11th. Yeah.
So it was somewhere around the, say, 6th. That'll give it a few weeks to die, and I kind of want to be ready to go in, disc, and plant whenever I see like super optimal moisture coming. So whether that be, early August, mid-August, late August, whatever that is, like I decided this year I'm just going to have it ready and strike when the best time is. So yeah, I sprayed roughly an acre and a half that I plan to plant, and this will be the last year I do brassicas in there for a year or two. I don't know all the disease stuff, but apparently if you plant brassicas in a specific location for too many years in a row,
right?
Not to say you will, but there's a higher risk of having some type of disease come into your soil, and
that's the last thing you need.
That's the last thing I need. Yeah. So now I replanted that screen here about a month ago. That looked super good. It was probably, I don't know, knee high maybe. So that looked really good, and that'll be the buffer kind of protecting my access for the blind. So I did that. I took soil samples of that plot, which historically, just due to my limitation with equipment and funds as a college student many years ago, I had that one field split into 3 sections, because the first year I'm just going to plant this little tiny thing. We had the tiller down there or whatever. So slowly those, one field turned into 2 and 2 turned into 3. Now it's just one big field that I plant all at once. So this is the first year that I've just taken a soil sample, across the whole thing. So I don't know, one end may be, higher pH, lower pH than another. But I'm just going to start treating it officially as one field, even though I planted it all for the last couple of years. But
it's funny you say that, because I was just scrolling through my phone pictures like I do almost nightly, it seems like, and I found a drone picture from down there. Like, I don't even know when it would have been, 2021, probably before that, probably 2019 maybe, and the field was all like fragmented. I'm like, what field is that?
Yeah, why was he doing that?
I'm like, oh, yeah, I forgot it used to be like a few different.
Yeah. Well, there used to be just like freestanding poplars in there too that kind of like broke it up a little bit. And then on top of that, it was just like, due to our limitations, just too daunting to do everything at once between, not having a great sprayer and then trying to till everything with this little 4-foot tiller. And it's just,
Right.
Fortunately now it's pretty manageable.
Yeah.
But
you got it down to a science now. Yeah. Yeah, and the weed thing you mentioned, Corey, he was talking to me earlier about getting his food plot planted at his parents' house, and I think it was last year, maybe the year before. Like, if you're not taking the soil sample or doing the soil sample and controlling the weeds, which I've been guilty of for years, but that was kind of his problem there, I think, last year. And you come back and look at it and it's just a weed field, and you do all that work, it's like you're better off you're getting ahead of the game, getting everything ready, getting it sprayed, getting it killed. That way, like you said, so when Mother Nature presents itself and you can go down there and feel like, and I've been guilty of this, I still am guilty of this, but like you put it off, and then maybe like, oh, I'll skimp out on spraying the weeds and just plant it and see what happens. And it never pans out the way you hope it does.
Like you said, I'm still guilty of this, and I will continue to be, but like I keep saying, I want the only factor left to question as Mother Nature. Like that, I want that to be the only thing, because when it fails, and we will continue to have failures, I want to be able to say it was because of, too much rain, too little rain, whatever it is, Mother Nature. When you skip steps and it fails, now you're left to question what happened. Like, I want to know, because I want to avoid that in the future. So it's like, I need to know that I took the right precautions with, spraying it properly. I got all the weeds killed. I got the soil bed prepped properly, and seed depth was right and everything. So I'm trying to be better about that. Again, guilty. I planted a small plot down there in the bottom that was supposed to be just like a sorghum mix or whatever, sunflowers and whatnot. That one completely failed, and I, again, am left to question, did it not get enough sunlight because there's a lot of canopy cover? But also, I had a horrible kill, and when I went down there to plant it, sure enough, there was weeds everywhere, and I just elected to, because it's not a plot that I'm really planting for deer, I kind of wanted to see if turkeys would use it or doves would use it or whatever. I just went ahead and planted it, but like, I was disking through some junk.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, the more prep work you can do, usually it benefits you in the end, which I guess this spring I frost seeded, and you don't fertilize when you frost seed, do you?
You can.
I never have.
Well, frost seed, no.
Yeah.
Like I guess I was saying like when you overseed, right, whatever time of year. Yeah, right. You can fertilize then, but no, generally like when you're frost seeding in February.
People don't. Right. Okay, so I didn't, but I mean that's probably the best stand of clover I have ever had, which is funny. If folks have listened to, a few podcasts ago, we talked about the labels on the seed bags, and that was seed that had, I think, a 2021 test date label on it. So maybe, I don't know,
maybe germination rate climbs. Maybe there's a stall in the. No.
Which, funny enough, did you see someone messaged us? They were at like TSC, and they had a bag a container of domain. And there was like 3 stickers stacked on top of each other. Yeah, and he messaged us and was like, "You guys are right."
I would have started peeling.
Yeah, he did. He did. I don't remember what the dates were, like 2022 and then maybe 2023. But that raised the question again. I messaged him back, and I'm like, see, now I don't know if they're just being slapped on repeatedly. Is that the dealer, or is that the?
That was my question when we talked about that. Is that the retailer? Say you say it was Tractor Supply,
I think it
was something like that.
Like that. You don't think he said, but it looked like a Rural King or a TSE.
They can't, at their shop, basically generate this thing and slap it on there.
Right. It's got to come from.
That would have to come from the distributor or the seed dealer, whatever. Right. That's weird to me. Yeah, because they would be the ones who would have the ingredients, if you will, with all the percentages and whatnot, to be able to put that on there. They wouldn't probably even ship those out to all their retailers and be like, hey, everybody, I want you to go through all your, whatever, clover seed and put these on there.
Yeah.
Because then you'd be leaving it up to these people who work at these places who know nothing about anything and being like, okay, this thing says clover, this label says clover. Okay, that's the right stick. No, I don't think that's the case.
You're right. I don't know. Maybe we just uncovered something that's like
some shady business.
People are going to come after us. Like the guy that invented the water car.
Yeah. Now, I also saw a domain seed that was like 2022 test date or whatever it was, 23, something like that. That I was going to get it and plant it down in that bottom. It was like a bird mix or whatever. And I honestly elected not to, just because it's like, I don't know how much germination rate it loses. So it's like, what is my planting rate? Do I need to be at 5 pounds per acre, 10 pounds per acre, whatever, to account for germination loss? Mm-hmm. Because what that bottle says or bag says or whatever is nullified essentially at that point.
Yeah. Interesting. Gosh. Yeah. I don't know. I thought that was funny though. He had listened to it and was like, you guys are right.
Yeah.
Like, I was just stating an experience I had, and I don't really know what it means, but
we're geniuses.
Definitely real.
We're the greatest detectives.
We figured it out. Yeah.
I need you to come work on my clover down there, though. It looks good. The stand of clover looks good, but it's thin, and I'm starting to get some like horse nettle coming up through, and some other weeds, like sedge grass or nut sedge or whatever it is. I need to take care. I actually went through and pulled a bunch of that by hand, but it's not like super full, thick.
Yeah.
Lush, deep clover. It was just kind of like thin hair, essentially, is what it looked like.
I mean, I frost seeded Real World and I frost seeded Whitetail Institute, both, and then let the weeds just take over. And then Steve came in and just mowed the tops off.
I was mind blown when you sent me that.
And it's like beautiful now, aside from the logging road through it. Which, side note, I meant to ask you this: most people plant either a spring plot or a fall plot, right? And you can plant, clover in the spring, or you can do a fall clover plot. Vinny came through and seeded all that in clover in July.
Mm-hmm.
Why do people, this is a dumb question, but it just got me thinking, why do people plant a spring plot or a fall plot with clover? You technically could just plant it whenever.
Clover,
right?
Really, I think you can plant, brassicas, I believe, for the most part, in a more of like a commercial setting, are a spring-ish planted, plant. So,
but you're planting those in the fall for the palatability.
Correct.
To line up with
deer
season.
Yeah, because I think at the point that you planted them in the spring, by the fall they'd be like
gone,
dead, or rotting away. Clover, I think, this is speculation, is more of a like trying to optimize planting seasons in terms of like moisture.
Right.
You probably wouldn't want to plant it in July and August simply for the sheer fact that you're less likely to get rain. That's a guess.
That's why I was wondering, because I was thinking back to like last year. We've had a ton of rain this year. At least to me, it seems like we've had more rain this spring and summer than I can recall. But it seems like we always get a really dry August, September. Like, I feel like most years recently we're like, oh my God. Like, I can think of last year or the year before where you're like, it hasn't rained down at the farm.
It hurt my heart.
Forever.
Like, every day I'd wake up and just be like, dude, I see nothing in the 10-day.
Right. So I guess the reason I bring all that up is I was like, if it doesn't matter when I plant clover, I was originally going to go replant that entire food plot in the fall because I didn't expect it to look like it does. But now I have this bag of clover seed, and I'm like, I might just go through right now and seed the logging roads on top of what Vinny did and fertilize them, because we've been getting so much rain, instead of waiting until September or whenever.
That's one of the beautiful things about clover is it's a great beginner's food plot from the sheer, I mean, it's great, you know, for the most experienced guy too, because it's super palatable and attractive for deer. But like, you can put it down as heavy as you want it. You don't need to understand like the science behind seed rates where you would with corn or brassicas or whatever, where they're directly competing with one another. And if you deplete them of nutrients and optimal space, then they're gonna choke each other out or not reach the best level of development. Clover, you can just slap it down, and I love that.
Yeah,
because it's like, when in doubt, dude, it's money, and you're probably wasting money to some degree, but it's like, put it down. But yeah, I don't think that's a bad plan at all to just go in. Not to think that Vinny didn't put it down heavy enough, but like, if you're seeing rain in the forecast and you can do it, why not just get it established now? Especially for the aspect of getting it established really heavy, so you don't run into weed problems and allow weeds to start to take hold.
Yeah, I think he probably, I mean, I don't even know what seed he used, but I'm sure he did.
Merit. He used Merit seed.
Oh, did he?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right. He did say that. Yeah. But I have this bag that I planned on redoing my entire plot with that I don't need to now. So I was like, why wait?
Yeah.
Just do it now. So I might do that this week if there's rain. If there's rain coming.
I think we probably do get in too much of a mindset of like, food plots are spring or fall, and you can't just plant anything anytime. Like corn has a maturity, of 100 days, or there's obviously different ones, but like, you couldn't go in and plant that in July because it wouldn't reach maturity by the time that it would quit growing when it gets too cold. So like, that doesn't work for everything, and we're probably guilty of slapping that expectation or understanding on all food plot blends or whatever. But like, clover, I mean, as long as you're receiving the weather, there's no limitation to when you can plant it. I mean, you can put it down in February or January or whatever, and as long as that seed stays, it's probably going to eventually reach a point when it's warm enough and gets down in the soil and it grows. Yeah.
It just made me laugh. Thought just popped in my head. Probably 12 years ago. Well, I guess no. When would it have been? It was 2016. Jake and I were on that Up North Journal podcast, and we met him at Cabela's at like the end of August. And they asked like what our like if we planted food plots or anything, and I distinctly remember telling them that year my I guess I call him uncle, but he's technically like my mom's cousin. He farms, and he had leftover beans. And we were leaving Cabela's and going to my uncle's to plant those beans at the end of August. And they asked, like, what our plans were. And we said, like, we want them to be green, like, for deer season. So we're planting them now. And, at that time, I had no idea. That made complete sense in my head. Like, the farmers plant them in May and they're brown by September. We're going to plant these at the end of August.
You guys have no clue what you're doing. Everybody that wants them green is doing it now. These things will be green in December.
Don't you guys know deer love beans? Like, we're planting these beans. And I remember them being like, oh, okay, yeah. And they were probably like, you idiots.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, something I hate to admit, like, I've learned this in more recent years. A lot of the beans turning, brown and drying up has a lot to do with the photo periods of the day, like the amount of daylight, and you will still see some correlation between like beans up against the woods are receiving less sunlight, so naturally those areas do stay a little bit greener than out in the middle of the field. But a lot of it has to do with like the amount of sunlight in a day, and I didn't know that, but somebody that had a lot of knowledge on the topic explained that, and I'm like, I guess I associated it mostly with when they were planted. So I always get excited when I see within reason, not planted in August, but like planted later than the most of the majority of the bean fields have gone in. I get excited when I see a bean field go in late that I get to hunt. But I guess a lot of it ends up indicating that they all turn around the same time, give or take.
I just saw today, and I don't know why this is like super satisfying for me to look at, but like it was a giant wheat field. They picked the wheat, and then you just see these beans starting to come up, through. It's like crazy that they had planted that. They had drilled that when the wheat was, waist high. Mm-hmm. And then they come and take that wheat off, and those beans just right behind it just come right up.
Yep. Which that's a good topic to bring up with the clover thing. I think a lot of the reason why people will do clover in September or August or whatever as a true fall plot versus July is because planting clover with a fall cover crop is incredible. Like when I turn this year's brassica plot into clover going into next spring, what I'll do, whether that be the end of this month or August, when I plant those brassicas, I'm putting a whole bag of real world clover in with those brassicas, basically, because if I can get a decent stand of clover in there, obviously when the brassicas come up, you won't even notice it. But then as we get in through winter, I'll go back in, go over it, frost seed it, and continue to seed it into spring. That will be just like a beautiful carpet of green. I think that's probably why a lot of people plant clover in the spring, because we're getting a lot of rain and it's a good time to plant. And then if they miss that window, they opt for fall with the cover crop.
Yeah. Yeah, and less managing of it too. I feel like when you plant it definitely when you plant it in the spring or you frost seed it, you're going to be going in there and mowing it. I mean, we need to mow it again, honestly, just to keep the weeds at bay. Mm-hmm. But yeah, not mow it because the clover's too tall.
No,
and it's just perfect stand of clover. Mm-hmm. That's what I think a lot of people get mixed up. Is you hear a lot of stuff about wanting to mow clover just to mow the clover. You're mowing to keep weeds at bay. Mm-hmm. and keep the clover kind of a monoculture stand, if you will. Yeah, which, a lot of times we probably mow it and you don't even need to, but it goes back to similar to timbering your woods. You want it to look like that luscious green carpet without a weed in it, but naturally you're gonna have some weeds in there. But yeah, I love a good green carpet.
I know. I'm looking forward to getting that planted. I don't know why I get like this good feeling in my belly just thinking about like planting it and knowing when you do plant it and you get that first, like when you get the right weather and everything starts to line up, knowing that within 2 or 3 days you're going to start to see little green pop up on your cell. I love cell cams for monitoring food plots, especially food plots that I'm not close to. So the thought of here in a month or so, I might get to see little green heads popping up on my camera. That does something for me.
Some of this stuff, I take for granted or just assume a lot of people do, but this is something that, maybe you tip for somebody. You'll put your cell camera over a field. You're monitoring what deer are in there. You're also using those pictures to track growth. I know you sent me when you planted your screen, like a few days later, it was popping up. Mm-hmm. And then you've put a rain gauge out there too when you're hours away from your farm. That picture, takes a snapshot and you can see in your rain gauge, is there water in there? Is there not? Did we get rain? That's a really good idea. I don't know if a lot of people, know to do that, but it's smart.
It was a product of concern for me because I'm, 2+ hours away from this farm, and this isn't just for the sake of knowing whether we got rain, but knowing whether we got rain and whether or not I need to replant. Like if we got, if I got rain, got germination, and then all of a sudden this thing's nuked and we continue to not get rain, and I see that germination is completely fried and I need to go replant, it's more for the peace of mind, I guess. Yeah, the rain gauge gives me that. It also probably causes me a lot of undue stress, but at the same time, that's something I'm going to continue to do.
Well, it kind of saves you a trip if you don't have to, right? If you go all the way down there and if you didn't need to, or vice versa.
Because I know how I am. If I didn't have a cell cam over that to know whether we got rain or not, I would make the drive, whether that be an afternoon after work and just go down and come back and drive, 5 hours. I'd have to do that. So it saves me, probably a lot of stress and time and money in the long haul.
Yeah. You think the farmers get, backtracking a little bit when you said you get that gooey feeling, do you think they get just so excited when they look out and their beans are coming up, or to them it's just like, keep the dang deer off it?
Yeah, maybe not when they're planting, a couple thousand acres. But for me, when I'm planting 1.5, I'm like, that's sweet.
Speaking of the farmers, I had a customer tell me last week he's big into trapping, hunts a little bit and stuff, but we were just catching up, and I was telling him a little bit about our experience at the DNR meeting, because he was actually talking about trapping and how like some of this stuff has just gotten crazy, and I was sharing my thoughts about some of the things in hunting, some of the parallels. And he was like, oh yeah, I remember, running my trap line back in like the 90s. He was like, there was just giants everywhere. He's like, you don't see that anymore. And he doesn't really deer hunt anymore. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I'm rambling. He, after telling him about our experience there, he was like, I hope you know that in the state of Ohio, it's, the DNR, the Farm Bureau, right below them, and then way down here, deer hunters, turkey hunters, duck hunters, and then all the way down here is trappers. He's like, you'll never just, the way he, used his hands to describe that, he's like, DNR, Farm Bureau, right here. Like they're working together. Yeah. They don't really care about anything else down here.
I hate to be like pessimistic about that, especially when you hear so many people be like, oh, basically try to convince us that we just complain to complain and that's all a figment of our imagination. Like that's not actually the dynamic there. The DNR really genuinely cares, but it's like we continue to see things that don't back those statements up. Like they back up the way we feel. Like I feel like there's nobody looking out for the quality of hunting except for a micro subgroup of hunters. Like even the majority of hunters, like whatever the state says, as long as they're giving us more, like are very satisfied and overall probably have no qualms or complaints to have for the DNR other than just, I'd like more opportunity.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I tried to when he was just explaining all that, and it felt like he's a trapper. Like he dabbled in hunting a little bit, but he's a trapper. So it wasn't like he's this big deer hunter that's like complaining. You know what I mean?
That just wants to complain.
It's just like he's 63 and it's like his observation of what he's seen over the years. And I tried to think like, okay, if I was a farmer and I didn't really deer hunt, didn't really care about deer, but like farming was my livelihood and like I needed to protect my crops because it matters. And it's also a, $1 trillion industry or whatever. Like, would I just want deer dead? Would I just be like, oh my gosh, just kill them all, give me nuisance permits? Like, probably.
As a non-deer hunter, you'd think you'd be more inclined to say just about anything that would, support more deer harvest.
Right. So it is tough. Like, most of those people aren't like you and I. Mm-hmm. They're on a combine for hours in a day and they bust their butt and they don't really care about seeing a couple more deer sit or a bigger buck or whatever. So it is tough. Like, it's easy for us to be like, ugh, what are you doing? But like, if they have as much pull as this guy's saying he does, which it sure seems like they do, they don't care.
Yeah, I forget who it was. I had a similar dealing with somebody, and I don't remember, or it was multiple people, whoever it was, and they had said something about the DNR in Ohio specifically, and I had made a comment that we were down at that meeting and essentially things are pretty futile. They seem pretty bleak. You hear a lot of people say like, oh, the DNR doesn't care, and it's like, good luck going to those meetings, whatever. Like it's pretty pointless. And then we went to one, it's like, I can see why people feel that way.
Yeah.
And they just hope you eventually just lose your motivation to go down there and fight the good fight and eventually move along and go back to living, your life you were before.
Yeah. It's just interesting how like, it's easy to just think about deer because they kind of take the cake. And then you start to kind of think about turkeys because, we like doing that too, and like how all of these things are just working against them. And he, once again, is not a big hunter, and he was talking about the same things in trapping, which I trap, and to me, trapping's like, it's still great. It doesn't seem like all of this technology has like interfered with it and made it so easy, but he was kind of arguing against that. He was like, man, when people introduced like the dog proof for he's like, everyone became a professional raccoon trapper. And then he talked about with like muskrats and the conibears, He's like, you used to just have to use like leg holds, and like, you know, you might have a body of water where there was 100 of them and you'd catch, you know, a handful. He said when they introduced the conibears and you could just put them right over their hole or right over their run, he said you go to your pond that has 100 in them, you'll catch every single one of them. And he's like, that's why you don't see them like you used to. And it was just weird because we say those same things about deer and turkey, and here's a guy it's like it's everything.
You are the parallel to what we say. Like the new age deer hunter comes into it and they see no problem with the crossbows, the corn piles, the cell cams, all the technology, the new seasons, the new weapons, whatever, and they think hunting is fairly good. Ohio's great. You know, I was able to harvest a 2.5-year-old buck last year. It was a mainframe 115-inch 8-point or 10-point or whatever it was. And, you know, we've seen the other side of the, you know, the good old days, whatever, the other side of the coin, and it's like, no, you don't get it. Like, It could be better.
You did a much better job articulating that, but you're right. I had like an eye-opening experience of like, I'm that guy that messages us and says like, what are you talking about? Like, you know, there's tons of coyotes running around and, you know, there are coons everywhere, whatever. And here's this guy saying, which I've been doing it for 40 years and it is not the same.
Which way do you want to see it? Like, is ignorance bliss in the sense that like you're pretty satisfied with the way things are and you're not frustrated with it on the trapping side, but on the deer hunting side, you're like, this is so aggravating. I know we could be better. And you have to live in that.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it goes back to like it's never what it once was. Like I feel like the glory days are always right now.
And I was going to say, somebody just said the other day, they said you are living in the glory days of deer hunting because 20 years from now it's going to be like, I wish it was how it was in 2025, which is terrifying because I often try to think back to like, were my standards so much lower in 2016 than they are now? And that's why I tend to think back to those years and be like, that was so good, because my whatever you want to call it, inventory of mature deer or big deer that I'd be willing to shoot was so much bigger simply because my standards weren't what they are now. But I can think to specific times when it's like, no, that's not what it is. To a degree maybe, but not for the most part.
It'd be a lot of work, but I wish I would have started doing this like 10 years ago, but I'm considering starting it like this season of like keeping track of like specific farms, how many bucks you had on camera. It's easy to obviously identify how many different bucks you had on camera throughout the season, and like, you know, a rough estimate of like either age or score or whatever, so that you can reference that like 10 years from now, because people do argue like, oh, you're just remembering it, you know, differently. It's enhanced and it wasn't actually that good. And I disagree. Like, I think back 10 years ago and some of the properties we hunted, and it was like, dude, you were seeing a 150 like every other sit. Like, you'd have I could think of Corey's place, like when we were in high school, dude, you'd put a mineral out and you would legitimately have like 5 bucks added at the same time all over 150.
Yeah.
And like, that was real stuff. So like, it's not like I'm remembering that wrong. Like, that happened, and that doesn't happen anymore. So it has to have changed.
My standard, I would like to think, is around the 150 range, give or take. I mean, obviously a mature 5.5-year-old 140 that's an 8-point, that's a giant mature 8-point. Like, that's very easily going to be a deer that I would target. So generally say 150. But like, I'm hanging cameras on more properties and more locations on those properties with more time invested, more resources invested, food plots, like all the different things, more knowledge on my end as to where these spots are to probably better target and acquire pictures of these deer. And like, it's harder than ever to even find one of those like 150-inch deer.
Yeah.
And you're talking about having multiple on one property, and I can think of similar instances where it was like you hang a camera willy-nilly, just put it out there, throw a little bit of, you know, whatever mineral out in the summer, and you're going to get that deer on camera. And that's what I'm targeting now, and struggle more than ever.
Yeah, so I guess I just don't necessarily agree with the people that are like, oh, no, it wasn't, you know, it's not that much different. I really think it is. I really think it is that much different. And then to hear you say that about, you know, 20 years from now, that is horrifying, because we'll, like, assuming we're both alive, like, we'll still be hunting at that point. You know what I mean? Like, that's scary.
I think that's when we officially are probably like the top tier dudes that are running around with trad bows shooting 120-inch deer. That is when I will for sure fall into that because, and I wonder about the crossbow guys when that becomes the thing. Like, do you think they're going to be running around shooting these 120-inch deer with their crossbows still and thinking it's sweet? Or, like, will they maybe step into a compound? Be like,
we're going to make it harder.
We're gonna make this tough.
Pick up
make this really tough.
Yeah, that's a good. I feel like they'll just probably keep shooting with the crossbow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man. Dang it. I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole, but we did, and now it's got me stressed out. And I'll lay awake at night thinking tonight about what it's going to look like.
Yeah, I did pull on that trip when I went and sprayed food plots, I pulled a SD card and was very disappointed. One deer that I could recognize from previous years that is very mature, that has, if you took the same antlers from the last 4 years and stuck them right back on his head, not a deer that I've ever targeted, ever.
That's become such a trend down there. I can think of like 3 deer over the last 5 years that you've said that exact same thing.
Yeah.
It's like you just carried the same rack.
You made the statement that it's all about getting them to maturity because I have a good track. You said I have a good track record of harvesting the mature deer that I'm targeting. And I do. Like, I mean, for the most part, other than the 1 year when I had 3 really nice mature deer, obviously I couldn't shoot all 3. So I only settled for one of those 3, but I did kill the biggest of the 3. Getting them to maturity is the difficult thing. However, not in the cases of these, I don't know, genetically inferior bucks. Like, we've had so many deer make it to maturity year after year after year, and they continue to come back, except for the top tier ones. Like, those are the ones that get killed, and I attribute a lot of that to, like, the corn piles, for sure. Those are the types of deer that get to 4.5 years old, which is, you know, the absolute lower end of maturity, and they get whacked.
Which is interesting because a lot of, like, hunting personalities, YouTubers, whatever, would tell you then that you need to, like, call those bucks. But really, aren't the genetics in the does? You know, doesn't Don say, like, the antler genetics, like, the doe carries a large portion of that?
Yeah, so the maternal grandfather of a fawn is that the antler genetics of that maternal grandfather is most likely to carry into the fawn. But it still makes sense to kill those genetically inferior bucks because they're still breeding does.
Yeah, I guess in a roundabout.
And those does fawns would be, you know, I guess.
Right.
Those would be the children of that deer, and then eventually on down the lineage, those would become the grandparents. You're or whatever. Right. That'd be the maternal grandfather.
I was trying to make that more complicated than it is.
I think I still kind of did a little bit, but like you still want those deer gone. And I tried to get Abby to shoot the one that I just said I've got up another picture of. Last year, he was super patternable on those brassicas. And I can't remember if he came out or not, but he was there like every night. And it just didn't pan out with him. And then eventually we had our kid and whatnot. So hunting was pretty much a no-go for her. Not that she's real interested to begin with. I would never in my life ever shoot that deer. So like,
Abby, please.
I was begging her. He's palmated. He's just a mainframe 8-point, probably like 115 inches. Yeah, but I can't bring myself to do that. And maybe I will one day. Maybe he'll step out and I'll just be so mad that I'll kill him.
You want to kill a mature buck, but then, like, okay, you get the opportunity to shoot a mature buck, but you're like, okay, I do want a mature buck, but like I also want him to be like a nice deer.
Yeah. Yeah. There's been a couple deer like that. I got a shed off of one down there last year that's very similar. So yeah, it's not that we can't get them to maturity, it's that we can't get the right ones to maturity. The right ones get killed. The wrong ones are left to live.
Yeah.
Intentionally by us and other people.
Yeah, the nice up and comers with the 5x5 size or whatever get shot at 2 over a corn pile, and then they're passing that 5-year-old 100,
which is by definition high grading.
Yeah,
by definition, and that is what eventually the everything goes back to that word as far as like the reason for our hunting quality decline is like those young good deer are most susceptible, and with all the resources and opportunities and everything that we have, like those are the deer that get killed, just like trees would, whatever. It's similar to a lot of other things, a lot of parallels, but like it's high grading at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Take the best of the best, whether they're old or young, and leave the junk to live.
Yep. And unless you have like thousands of acres, which even then, even then, like you still have neighbors and stuff. Like there's still deer on the fringe that are hopping over and getting whacked. Like I feel like it's just impossible to prevent that. You just have to get lucky and find the one that somehow, some way slipped through the cracks.
If you look back at the mature deer that I've harvested, specifically there, we can just keep it there. Only one of those have I had prior years history with. Every other deer has showed up mature, and I've killed mature. I don't have luck, passing a deer one year when he's mature or whatever and nice, and then seeing him the next year. Not that I don't pass good mature deer, like I do, but I don't see him again. Only one of those deer have I had a year prior, let live, they come back, and I've killed. So it's like, for them to be a deer that I target and kill, like they pretty much show up mature and I kill them.
So they're getting old somewhere else, and then for whatever reason, the vacuum sucking them into yours.
Yeah.
Habitat, probably.
Yeah. The deer that I'm letting live are the ones that are getting killed, or whatever else happens to them. Maybe they're sucking into somebody else's property, but yeah, it's a strange dynamic, and I think back to that deer from last year that I passed, and can only dream of what he would look like this year, because that would be a deer that I would 100% shoot, and he's probably 4, maybe 5, but I'd love to see him, and maybe we will. I don't know. I doubt it, but
yeah, keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah,
I know it. I find some comfort in that statement of like, ultimately some deer kind of move in or shift around or whatever. But then you think about, like, I think about here and like how many bucks have been killed like around this block by us or neighbors that I know of for sure within the last just couple of years. I mean, it's well over double digits. And then you're like, okay, but we'll get some that move in or whatever. But then let's just assume that, okay, if that happened here in my immediate, square block or whatever, that's definitely happening, a couple miles up the road as well, right? So it's like, where are they moving in from? Because this slaughter fest has got to be happening everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish it would be cool to rate. Not that you could as the hunter. There's a little bit of a conflict of interest there, but like unbiasedly radio collar deer on your own property. Obviously, you couldn't, but like it would be so interesting to me to have a radio collar on one of these deer, that deer from the farm last year, and just see what he does. Because it's like, where do they go? Where do they come from? And I think that's what drives like my fascination with them. Same with turkeys. But yeah, I don't know. It'd be cool.
People are doing that.
Probably.
No.
Yeah.
With drones.
Oh, yeah.
I just saw a video today. Followed this buck for however many hours with my thermal drone.
Wow.
Yeah. That guy's blowing up.
That's got to be from like that's an advantage to a hunting thing though. Like that's why I said it's a conflict of interest. Like I couldn't knowingly have that data or that info and also be hunting that deer.
Yeah.
Again, just another aspect of drones that I can't get
I'd
on
like
board
to
with.
talk to that dude. He just like launched his channel and it exploded. But yeah, I'd like to talk to him. Just I want to talk to some of those people that like are genuinely seem like really good dudes that have the drone service, and just be like, do you actually think, like, do you legitimately think this is like good for hunting, or like are you a hunter? Like, and like I'm not like, you defend it however you want to defend it, but like spin it to me where it makes sense, because I just can't see how that is good at all.
I don't think it's necessarily like a flagrant like disregard for it, but like I just don't think they genuinely just don't see the problem. And I also understand from like a viewership side why that generates interest. Like even me, like it's like that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I guess it just comes with like same as the new age deer hunter, like they just don't see the problem with it, and it all goes back to perspective and how you're raised. Like if you're raised in a different culture, to you a lot of really strange things to me are very normal, and I think that's just what it goes back to.
Yeah, I made myself listen to Jake Hofer had a drone fella on. I think it's the guy that Bill Winke used in his videos. Seems like the nicest dude. Like seems like a diehard hunter too. And normally I like would refuse to listen to something like that because like I don't want to support it. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just listen and see if maybe there's something that like I'll be like, you know what? I was wrong in that regard. And it's exactly what we think it is. And like the stuff they talk about, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that is allowed. It's crazy.
It's that they see the advantage in it, I think. For sure. Otherwise, I don't think it would be interesting. They see the advantage of it. They just don't understand maybe how that could negatively impact hunting, or
even the one, I don't think it was him, but like the one like marketing ad I saw for one of the drone services, it was like, find out where your deer are bedding. And I'm like, how does that not raise a red flag? Just listen to what you just said. Find out where your deer are bedding.
Well, the one that I at the height of my anti-drone, whatever you want to call it, I don't quarrel with people on it, really, in person on Facebook, whatever. The one dude posted an ad, and the title of it was "Don't Have Time to Scout," and that was the catch on the top of the ad. And that one I couldn't hold myself back. And per the rule book, it can't aid in the whatever harvest of a deer, however it read. And that is a direct violation of it, because you're saying, if you don't have time to scout, hire me and I'll come. And that, he had graphics and showing you that he would drop pins on all the bedding locations, and he listed all his services that he would offer. And it was like a direct violation of Ohio's rule book, probably with some gray area that Ohio probably couldn't sort out. But it's like, you're saying, if you don't have time to scout, hire me, I'll drop you pins where you need to be hunting.
Yeah. And people probably aren't going to like this, but I think if you had a drone like service, or even if you just, let's just say you just bought the drone just for your own personal use, I think it'd be a blast. I think it'd be so fun. Just like you said, what are they doing? Where are they? I just want to see what this deer looks like out in this bean field, whatever. I feel like, though, if I killed a deer because of that, and people probably aren't going to like this because they'd say cell cameras are the same thing or whatever, but I feel like I'd have a similar feeling as if like I shot one over the property line. Mm-hmm. I'd feel just like icky about it. Like it just wouldn't feel quite right if the way that it's happening, I think, around here, and more often than people think, where they're hiring somebody to fly the drone out, figure out where it is, bedding or whatever, landing the drone, and then pursuing that animal. That's just, I just still, when I go back to, I just cannot believe that that's a thing.
That comes with a self-imposed moral standard, though.
Well,
that you're putting on yourself, and I have come to the decision that we probably hold ourselves to a higher regard, not because we're better than anybody, but like just for whatever reason, for me to derive satisfaction from a hunt, it has to be difficult. The same reason why if chasing big deer with a compound bow became impossible, but like I still need difficulty in my life to be satisfied. So that's probably what it would go back to. And also just like not feeling deeply rooted in myself that like that wasn't right. So that's what it goes back to me, and I've come to the decision that a lot of people probably don't have that within them, because there's such a drive for success on a large buck that it's like, I don't care if I have to fly a drone and figure out what he's doing. Like, I'm going to do that, because killing that deer is still an accomplishment. So as long as I get the accomplishment, there was some challenge in that, and I did it.
Yeah. The crazy part about it too is like, it's a great way to make a living. We talk about a lot of times like freeing up time, like if we didn't have our day jobs, and how much more of like this we could do. Like, dude, those guys, I think I saw the one charges $500 for the flight, and then $500 for the recovery, whether it's dead or alive. Or maybe it was $250 and $250. It might have been that. $250, yeah, I think it was. $250 for just the flight, just to come out there and fly it. And then if he finds it, dead or alive, another $250. Dude,
that's killer money.
2 in a day?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And a lot of those guys, I've heard guys say that they have to like shut their phone off.
Sure.
They're getting so many calls.
I was going to say, you could stack them up. Like if a dude calls you one evening, which most evenings you're going to get a call, more than likely if they're calling you, it's going to be because it's a bad hit. So you could say, in the morning, we'll get to him. So you start your day off with more than likely $500, the flight and a recovery, dead or alive, because they all say it's 100% they're going to find it. you're probably going to have more than one call lined up for that next morning, and then likely you'll get another call that evening from somebody who shoots one, or like you could easily do 2 in a day.
Easily. And then you have the, not scouting, but surveys or whatever they refer to it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of them are like finding pets and stuff now, and it's just
which, like in that case,
it's for good. They're just being used for good.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it comes from like good intentions. Like I want to help people. I want to help people find deer. Sure, you get into some conflict of interest with like the I'm doing it for money type of thing. So I don't really care whether it crosses a moral line of is this still fair chase or not. That probably is another reason why that gets put aside. Like I don't care if I'm crossing, fair chase lines because it's my livelihood.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. And I'm sure I know a lot of those dudes are great dudes and diehard hunters, and it was a business opportunity, and it's just weird. I think it frustrates me because you think about how crazy that is, and then you mentioned earlier in this podcast 20 years from now, it's like, man, there's more stuff coming. There's stuff coming that we can't even fathom right now that, 5 years ago you thought about thermal drones and how well they can see blood dripping off these things.
And that's just if everything else stayed the same. Like as I see urbanization and urban sprawl progress and whatever, and deer become more of a conflict, and the Farm Bureau gains more traction, and even though the insurance companies have no pull, whatever you want to say, like as that becomes more of an issue, it's like I can only imagine the targeting of deer would become more and more. So that's going to be another aspect feeding into those things that we're going to see continue to progress. And like you can say that little things that we can stir up, ideas that we could stir up in our mind would be like that'll never happen, but there's things happening today that I would have said would never happen many years ago. Really not that many years ago, even 5-10 years ago.
Yeah. I don't know if I mentioned this to you or to Jake. I think it was you, but we sit here and talk about this stuff, which I think is healthy and good to talk about, but sometimes I wonder too if talking about it makes it worse.
Mm-hmm.
Like the access thing,
ideas.
like people are 100% buying land right now because of people the fear mongering, unintentional, but of like if you don't, you won't have a place to hunt.
Mm-hmm.
So that in turn is making access even worse.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So like access is already a problem, but then we talk about how much of a problem it is. So people are scared, including myself, trying to lock up more ground, which makes access even harder.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many dynamics and aspects and whatever. Like we talk about it out of genuine interest and concern and like, passion and whatever, all the different things we talk about. But it's like, it's probably just another thing that's feeding into more problems.
Yeah.
So it's like
we all just shut up. Everything's great.
Everything's great. Delete social media, delete YouTube, whatever. But like, we also love it at the same time, and we love to see what other people are doing and share our successes and talk to other people, like-minded people that maybe don't see eye to eye with us. So
and I'm not knocking anybody that talks about that stuff. I love listening to it and I love talking about it. It just popped in my head one day. I'm like, kind of like the out of sight, out of mind type thing. Like, just are we making this worse because we're talking about it so much? But probably not in the grand scheme of things.
Well, considering we get 24 views, probably, yeah. Unless all 24
us.
of you guys go out and buy land today.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Oh, man. We're out an hour and 37 in.
I know.
And my tea's gone.
I've got more things to talk about, but I don't want to, open more cans of worms that will probably take us another hour. So
we could say that for the next one. But we appreciate you guys listening. We'll be back, and deer will be bigger by the next time we're back.
With any luck.
Yeah, that's right. All right. We'll see you guys on the next one.